Welcome to the London Horror Movie Club. I'm horror writer Lauren Jane Barnett.
And I'm Chris Sapikowski, Lauren's older brother, and I've been watching horror movies since I was 8.
Join us as we talk about the wild, weird, and wonderful horror films set in England's eerie capital. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Chris and I are happy to be here in August to talk to you about F. It's an unusual British slasher film, one part of the Hoodie horror series that dominated the sort of early 2000s. It stars David Schofield as a teacher who ends up trapped in a school when all of a sudden people start dying. But before we get into that, we always like to start with what we've been watching lately. And so, Chris, I'm dying to know, what else have you been watching?
So I've had a very free schedule to watch things, which makes me happy because I'm not just trying to cram things in at 11 o'clock at night, like I want to see that. But I've watched two good things this month. Yeah, I was able to go to the movie theater and I saw Talk to Me, which is an Australian film. And it was actually made by people who I believe got their start off of a YouTube channel, like doing smaller videos and doing all that. Raka Group, Raaka, I believe it is. So, but I really enjoyed Talk to Me. Basically, think without giving anything away, huge. The Ouija board series, like those movies, similar but way more. I mean, it's definitely it's new, it's organic, like it's like their thing. So like it just I'm trying to say similar to Ouija, but it really wasn't, but kind of has that feel. So there's jump scares, there's cool aesthetics throughout the movie. Really liked that. And then I actually recently got to watch the movie Cobweb.
Ooh, I don't know that one.
Yeah, that just I saw that on like Vudu, which is like a local, you can rent movies, buy movies online, and just kind of like a Prime without anything else. It's just like here's every movie and you just can buy it there. But basically a how do I explain this movie in a small, concise way? People in the walls, creepy children, creepier parents, pumpkins, Halloween, but good. Like it wasn't like your traditional slasher movie. And I don't, if I say the things that I like the most about it, I guess I can review it without giving big spoilers. Um, Basically, there's this little kid. He's got some creepy parents. They live in this old house, and his parents are very, strict and weird. They're just like, you get a bad vibe from them from the beginning. And then the little boy hears voices at night in his wall. Parents are convinced it's just a raccoon, it's just a squirrel, it's just rats, it's whatever. It's his sister. So there's a person in the wall who's like telling him to start doing things like, hey, go look in the backyard and dig up in the backyard and you'll see that they've buried bodies there. And then he goes and does, digs it up and like sees a skull. And then he lets his sister out, but it's not like the little voice of his, like who was talking to him as like a equally 12-year-old little girl. It turns out to be this fast movie, just murderous, like zombies. So I still believe it's the sister that like chaos ensues at the end when like these kids come to attack the little boy who basically hurt one of their. I skipped that part. Not hugely important, but he gets expelled from school for hurting someone who was bullying him because the sister in the wall said you have to stand up for yourself. So then he gets his older brothers. They come on Halloween night to get him back with bats and masks. And he had just let his sister out. So then it all explodes into the house of horrors. And it was good. Like I enjoyed the movie. Like I wouldn't say it's like, a 10 out of 10, but it was definitely worth everyone's time. I enjoyed it. And then Talk to Me is the same way. Like I actually think Talk to Me is one of the better horror movies. I would say that was like, I would probably give it an 8 out of 10.
Wow. What was it about Talk to Me that you loved, if you can say that without it like giving too much away?
Yeah, that one, it was just the grittiness of it. So like it's Australia, so like all like there's the very opening scene really it has a kangaroo that had been hit by a car. So like I'm already like transported, you're transported like, okay, this is not anything I'm super used to.
Mhm.
So you're already kind of like, and just the sounds and the way they made the movie, it really felt like you were watching, like you were in the room, just, I guess, for instance.
Oh.
So like, like I guess Christopher Nolan's movies, like, super great actor or director, makes greatest movies. I feel like every movie he makes, it's like it's very hard to hear. Like that's what I hear people say, like it's like mumbled and it's whatever. I never really noticed it except for like Batman just got like more grumpier and grumpier and mumbling. But like other than that, like his other movies, I don't notice a whole lot. This movie felt like you were like when they have a house party. This is kind of where the kids all get together to do this. Basically, it's a hand, and then you reach into the hand and you grab it and you say, "Talk to me." And then you see something, and then you say, "Let me in," and it kind of goes in you. So like you're inviting this like spirit into you, and then it controls you, but you can only let it control you for a certain amount of time.
Okay.
Is like what the rule is. Who makes up these rules? I don't know. Another 16-year-old that passed on the hand, but it felt like you were in the room, not watching the movie. The
Hmm.
way that it was shot felt like when someone's talking, it's like I miss what he said. But it was like if you were at a party, if you went to this party, you've been, I mean, you go to parties with like people when there's like people over here and people over here and everyone's kind of talking, you don't know what that person said to the left of you. And so but it was important, probably not. They were just like acknowledging you coming into the door. They didn't want you to be there, or they didn't like something else that was going on. It kind of messes with the whole movie to me messed with your senses.
Ooh, that's
Very
cool.
good. Totally recommend watching both movies, but Talk to Me I liked a lot. Like that will be one that I will end up owning and will watch repeatedly.
With Talk to Me, then, is it a really good idea to try and see it in the cinema? Because I bet that experience is a lot more immersive.
I would say yes, but I think that if you have a good setup at home, good TV, good sound system, and you can put away your phone. I have that problem when I sit at home and watch movies is I try to put my phone away or in a different room for that like 2 hours because or else I might start doing something if I get down a little bit. I saw it in the movie theater, and so yes, I was like totally immersed for that. And it's only an hour and a half. So it's not like you're sitting through a 3 hour epic. I would see it there just because, but if you have the good sound system, the good screen, you'll get the same thing as long as you can keep yourself from getting distracted, I guess.
That's
If
awesome.
that
I
makes
love
sense.
that because a lot of horror movies you watch nowadays, you can just as easily watch at home. So it's kind of nice when you see one that's
Mhm.
made better from the cinema. It sounded like Cobweb you could watch at home.
Cobwebs was a perfect home movie. Now I didn't look at my phone during Cobwebs, but yes, you can watch. I don't I see I see the pro of watching Talk to Me at the theater, where like Cobwebs would be like if that was on Netflix, I'd still enjoy it the same, but I could see it being a Netflix movie.
Okay. Yeah, I totally.
So yeah. So what have you watched? I've just rambled on for a few minutes
No,
there.
I asked you loads. Sorry, because I want to see both of them. So I
They're
want to
both good. I
hear.
recommend them to everybody.
Yeah, I've heard nothing but good things about Talk to Me, actually. I've been really excited. It's supposed to be really creepy. And
Yeah.
that's something I miss. One of the movies that I saw, we actually talked about on a previous podcast. Do you remember our interview with Alex? And we asked him some of the movies he was excited about seeing at the end. And he said that there was a movie that was coming out and 50 Years of British Horror. It's called Pocket Film of Superstitions.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Awesome. So that film, I was up at 50 Years of British Horror and I got to see its premiere. And it's so good. It wasn't what I expected because I'd seen Tom, the director, has done other films like Bella and the Witch Elm, and they're very in the same way, weirdly, they're tied to reality. Bella and the Witch Elm was a real folk story that he did a film about. The Pocket Film of Superstitions are real superstitions that he sort of goes through in that way of did we have growing up little pocketbooks? I didn't remember this, but it's like pocketbook of fishing, and it like tells you apparently it's a very British thing.
Mm-mm.
I didn't
Okay.
remember it either.
I
Um,
don't remember those. Yeah.
But in the same way where, like, if you thought of reading a book that was like the pocketbook of horror movies, you'd be like, the slasher film is all about chasing teenagers, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's that in a movie. So it's like kind of really funny, and it's these like little funny tidbits of how you would describe a superstition, but then they're very scary superstitions. So there's this layer of humor throughout, but then some moments you're genuinely like freaked out in the way that he's filmed it or the way he's set it up. And I don't even know how to describe it other than that it kind of blows your mind, because one minute you're absolutely laughing and then the next minute you're like grabbed onto the person next to you because you were really surprised.
Oh, so it's really good. It brings it all together.
I thought it was so great. I think one of the best things about it is the music, I guess, and the soundtrack that goes with it, because it does a really good job of like taking you from funny to creepy with it seeming like a really natural flow, and so you stay really in the moment with it. But it's mostly like fun and funny. I'd say if you aren't a super horror-y person, you won't have to worry about gore. It's really, really humorous, but there are absolutely moments that will like surprise you or be really eerie or really creepy. I thought it was so cool. It was really
Very
well done.
cool. Well, I'll have to definitely check that out when I can.
When I figure out where it's getting streamed in the States, I will add it to this, because right now it's just in the UK, so I feel really bad for a bunch of our listeners. They can't see it. But if you are in the UK, we'll put up on Facebook and on our YouTube where it's going to be, because it's doing the festivals now, and it's really good.
It'll be somewhere for sure. We'll definitely find it. So
yeah, exactly. But on the complete other end of the spectrum, I also saw a movie I really hated.
Oh no.
So I mentioned last time that there was this movie everyone was talking about called Skinamarink, and it's really popular. I think Shudder is who put it out. And I don't, everything that I like about horror movies was left out intentionally of this horror movie. This horror movie, I spent you were talking about being a phone in the movie. I never look at my phone when I'm watching movies or TV. I don't know why. Maybe just because I don't have very many apps. I'm told the problem with me is that I don't have the apps on my phone, so I don't know when people message me. That's true. I don't. I use it like a phone. I text message or WhatsApp and I call people. It's very weird. I don't have email on my phone.
Oh, that is weird. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not normal. But so I'm not really on my phone. About an hour into this movie, I went to find my phone, which was in the other room, because I was so bored out of my mind.
Oh no. So this movie that has been hyped up, like I've heard so many things about this movie. You gave up halfway in.
Halfway in, I couldn't. It is a one-trick pony, and it uses that one trick. I ended up starting to count because I was like, oh, that's the exact same thing they did before. Oh, that's the exact same thing they did before. So I think I've done it 3 times now, and I started to count. Now, again, I wasn't paying totally loads of attention at the start, so it might have 1 or 2 more, but at least 5 times it does the exact same thing, and there's nothing else it does. Because of that, it's not scary. Time 1, you're a little bit like, ugh. Time 2, you're like, wait a minute, I just saw that a minute ago. Time 5, you're like, oh my god, do something else. Anything else. And then the rest of the movie, aside from these 5 moments that are supposed to be scary, is kind of like looking at the background of your YouTube. It's balances and like, what are those called? Skirting boards, but at the top of the room. Those things above you.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't know if you were talking about my computer or that. I don't know what that's. Crown molding?
There you go. Crown molding. It is an analysis of carpet and crown molding and at a deep level for 2.5 hours.
Oh my god.
It's awful. I cannot unrecommend. I have tonsillitis now. I know you can't hear it. I've taken a lot of lozenges. My poor brother knows I've been stuck at home, unable to do anything except watch movies. I wanted to do anything. I wanted to turn off the TV and sit alone with my swollen tonsils and not be able to swallow properly, more than I wanted to finish this awful movie.
Oh no. So would you say, of all the movies that we've either talked about or full on reviewed, was this the worst one that you've watched?
So I sort of want to say yes, except
Oh no.
the movie we picked this month is okay. On the face of it, the movie we picked this month is more interesting than Skinamarink. There is more happening in this movie.
Okay.
But they're both terrible. I don't recommend them to anyone.
Oh, I had to ask that because for anyone that's listening, I picked this movie and I looked up, I did like kind of some research. It was going to be a first watch, but I was like, I want to find something a little bit newer. So, because sometimes we'll do some old 60s and 70s. I want to do something a little bit newer. I recognized an actor that's like on the, like one of the covers. I'm like, all right, trying to get that. I swung and missed with Limehouse Golem. Wasn't a horrible movie, wasn't my favorite, but it was a swing and a miss for me. It wasn't like, man, what a great movie. So happy I watched that. And then I texted you, I think probably like 4 days after we recorded, because I found it actually just on YouTube, which should have told me immediately that what I needed to know, but I could watch it for free on YouTube. And so I watched it and I texted you and said, oh, I'm sorry. This is not good.
So I love a bad movie, as in like a B movie, and so I was like, oh, maybe it'll be fine. Like, there's going to be something salvageable in this. And
right.
Again, it's a tough call whether I'd be forced to watch Skinamarink or F if I was strapped to the like Clockwork Orange chair with my eyes pried open. But I think F might be a bit better.
So that's a double feature for like punishment.
Yeah. Yes. If you want to convince somebody that there's no merit to horror cinema whatsoever, I cannot recommend these two enough.
Perfect. There you go. So what are you calling this movie? Because I'm interested in this because I said, hey, I found a movie. It's called F.
Yep.
And my guest co-host is now in here and no one's here to pick her up. Do you call it F or do you call it Expelled? Because once I said I saw the article, I looked it up, F was what it was. Now every time I try to find it, it's Expelled. It's called The Expelled.
So this is the thing, it is evidently called The Expelled. It was first released as F, and I get the movie a tiny bit more with the title F than The Expelled, because at the start of this film, and oh, by the way, there will be spoilers because you shouldn't watch this film. At the start of this film, the teacher, who, by the way, I love this actor, David Schofield, I think is how you pronounce his name, is a very good actor, and he does a very good job in this. And if you don't know him, give him a Google, you'll see his face, and you'll realize you've seen him in a few things. He does a lot of like the gritty guy, which is what he does in this one. He's a teacher. He gives a student an F in a humiliating way, and the student responds by basically headbutting him, smashing him in the face. And that makes him terrified of students, which sets you up then for he's afraid when these hoodie horror students are in the school and no one believes him because he should be paranoid. So he's the only one who knows what's going on. F makes sort of sense. No one's been expelled in this movie, so I don't get why it's called The Expelled. It's not like expelled pupils have come back to the school. You never really find out who's doing it, which is a little annoying. But like F at least kind of makes sense, so that's why I think I call it F, is I want this film to have more to it than it actually does.
Or maybe they just knew what their ranking was going to be of ratings. You know what I didn't, one of the things, so yeah, he fails his kid. He kind of is like the cocky older school teacher, right? Kind of starts talking to him about like, maybe it'd be better if you had crayons in the coloring book instead of writing this paper. Kid gets mad, comes and headbutts him, whatever. And then because it still is like the 2000s, because when I was a kid, if I had headbutted a teacher, my parents wouldn't have cared what the teacher had done. They would have just sided with the teacher and I would have been in trouble. But then like it is now, or they're trying to take the political landscape now, or the way parents are now, like they're gonna sue us if you come back. So they make him sit out a year, right? Like they make him sit out till the kid graduates. But they didn't develop any other character in this entire movie. They only developed the main teacher, which is that David Schofield or Schofield.
Oh, it's Schofield. You're right,
Is
Schofield.
that Schofield? Okay, I just pulled it up because I was like just making sure because I'm so bad with names. But yeah, they developed him with like he was assaulted, he's scared, he obviously went to the bottom of a bottle and hasn't come back out. He's getting in trouble for drinking at school. Like people have like complained. So they build this character up in the first 10 minutes. But we don't know who these kids are. We don't know how many of these kids there are. We don't know anything. And they just keep, why are they there? Why? And they weren't just looking for him. They were just there to attack whoever.
In fact, they go after loads of people before him.
Yep. So then it really doesn't matter about him.
So it doesn't matter.
It just doesn't matter.
This is the thing as well, is the little developing they did do. They made absolutely everybody completely either unlikable or unmemorable. Mm-hmm. So you've got the teacher, and honestly, I was a bit on his side. He was attacked by a student. No, I don't think he should have humiliated the student, but also being attacked does make you scared. I'm on your side for that. But then he smacks his daughter for no reason. And so then you're like, well, you're a dick. So he loses all sympathy very early on before even these hoodie guys show up. So they've made you kind of not like him. The daughter who he does smack is also a terrible person. Terrible. She's a horrible human being. Nobody should get smacked. She's a horrible person. And then the headmistress who's at the school that night, she's the one who's like been really shitty to the professor the whole time and is saying awful things about him. Another random teacher who dies. The only thing we see happen to her is she comes before the hoodies show up and kill her. She comes into the office after the main character's been told off. And when she goes into the office, she says, "Oh, he smells." And that's it. So we're just like, oh, well, you're a bitch. Like, nobody in this is made to be human or not even not even complicatedly likable. Like the main character, Robert, could be, okay, you're an alcoholic, but you've been through some stuff. No, they ruined that as well by making him hate his kid.
How about the dopey security guards?
Oh my God. Okay, I feel awful though for the first security guard. I know I'm cutting you off, but both the security guards are terrible people. They have nothing to them. They're really shallow and really vain and really stupid. The second one in particular is it's dumb as sand. But the only thing that got under my skin this whole movie and upset me, which is at least an emotion, which I can't say I had for Skin of a Ring. I'm gonna just keep saying that because it's such a bad movie. Very early on in this, you see the two security guards talking. One of them has been there a bit longer. You get the sense he goes out to do like a patrol around, and he wakes up having been knocked unconscious inside a trash bin. He tries to get out and it's locked, and they open it a bit and just cover him in lighter fluid. And they take time at this. It is done in real time. They waste like 2 minutes on this. They cover him in lighter fluid, close the lid, go get a match, open it, and light the guy on fire. That really upset me. I don't know if it's partly like the way the film was made. It's done in that sort of realistic almost look. It's not like shaky cam, but it feels like a normal place, a normal people. It doesn't feel it doesn't feel Hollywood.
Right.
That one really upset me. But then from the second they did that, I was like, that was totally unnecessary. I'm cut off from all of this. And I don't know why I had that reaction. So I wanted to ask you what you thought of that, because I had such a strong reaction to that. And we've both seen loads of horror movies where way worse happens.
That's interesting. That's why I think that's interesting. I didn't think twice about it. So when we were kind of doing our talk, or just through WhatsApp, we were just texting kind of our notes and stuff, and you had mentioned that, and I thought that was very interesting because I've watched the movie The Terrifier. I've watched movies where there was a movie in the main or in the movie theaters, like a mainstream movie with Jennifer Lopez back in it must have been the early 2000s, late 90s, called The Cell. And I
Oh God,
vividly remember
yeah.
them, this like demon thing, cranking this guy's intestines out of his body. And this is a main movie. This isn't me reaching for something through YouTube or Tubi. Like, so I've seen things that like, I'm like, okay, yeah, he got caught on fire. I mean, he screamed. But I do think that they do film it in a way where, like, again, doesn't, like you said, doesn't feel Hollywood. It feels kind of almost like one of the hoodie kids is like filming it while it's happening type of thing.
I think that's the thing. It didn't
Didn't bother
feel.
me though.
No?
I don't know
Oh,
what that
okay.
says about me.
Because that was the thing, is I'm down for over the top. There's a scene in one of the Saw movies where a woman has a rib stretcher. And I really I remember saying, that's a really well shot scene. Which is not maybe the most human reaction. But like there's something about it felt over the top. It felt
Yeah.
dramatic. Whereas this didn't feel dramatic. It just felt shitty. It felt like a really shitty thing to do to somebody. I don't know. Because I think there was some part of me that felt this movie, it is a horror movie, but it felt more like a documentary or like a thriller. It doesn't aim to be that, but like there's some part of it where you watch this movie and you're like, yeah, life's horrible. You're right.
I'm going to throw out a conspiracy theory about this movie.
Oh, okay.
Because I did not like this movie.
Hmm.
So I think it missed the mark on every mark that it was trying to make. Now, I don't make movies. I am not trying to be offensive to the people who made this movie. I think that there is a director's cut out there. I think when Dan was telling us about the suits and how like things can try to like get fit into a box because the money men try to do something, I think there is a director's cut and a vision of what they wanted, and they made this to be more appealing, maybe get a certain rating. I don't know what the ratings are there, but this felt like I watched a slasher film that was made for TV.
Ah.
Like it felt like everything that you like about slasher films gone. Because besides them burning the guy, they didn't show a whole lot of murders.
No.
People died and you see a dead body, but you didn't see them getting killed. Unless I watched the wrong movie and now I hate two movies. There just wasn't, I guess I was expecting more is what I'm saying. And I felt like, I'm like, well, if you did all this, why didn't you just do like the last piece?
So what are the things you would have done to make it work then? Because it sounds like you could take like the base of what they have and make it work if you're thinking director's cut.
Okay, so what this movie was, I have IMDb up now. I just wanted to see. Okay, so this movie is an hour and 19 minutes long.
Mhm.
An hour and that doesn't even make sense to me. So I would make it an hour and 30 minutes long. And I would basically build up who these people are. I don't care if they're a bunch of meth heads that decide they're going to take over the school. I got to know who they are. And if you're going to go and kill people, there's no reason to PG the killings.
Mm.
Because it wasn't it wasn't a whodunit movie.
Nope.
Because they never said who it was. So just announce it in the beginning, and you're saying like, this is going to be a slasher film. These are the people that are coming. Because there was just times where like, is it one person? Is it two people? Like, how many people are out there? Like, I just need to know what the deal is, why they're there. There are little things that drive me absolutely insane. And it's not I'm going to run upstairs in a slasher movie, because I totally get you're in a house in a slasher film. I'm going to my room and locking the door. It's a comfort place for you. You know where everything is in the room. It's just like in your subconscious, you're like, I get to an extent that I still hope I would run outside or like far away, whatever. But I can understand blunders in slasher movies when people like when they make fun of certain things. They did none of that here. So like little things like that. I don't know I know it gets dark there early. You guys are in the Northern Hemisphere and they didn't turn on a light ever.
That's true.
The girl who was working out and then showering in the gym of the school when no one else was there, had the light on in the shower area, but there was no other lights. Their light above the security office was on,
but not the
but
hall.
no other lights. The detention with her father, where he sends his daughter to detention, had like a small little lamp in the corner. There's just things you could, you could make a movie about attacking a high school, and you remember what high schools looked like here. I don't know what the high schools all look like there. I can make it just as scary with bright lights.
Yeah.
Like what a school would look like. It almost is like they took an old building and said, we're going to make this a school.
I know.
Just everything was just off. Like it was like, here's what would make it really good. And then every decision they made was just a little bit pointed a different direction. And I'm not trying to down the people that made it. It just felt like it was made for TV to me.
Yeah, I know what you mean. And it felt as well, I don't know if you found this, but like the things that they thought were really cool were some of the worst bits. Like with the woman who I think she's the gym teacher, and that's why she's swimming and then showering after school, but that's still ridiculous. Why doesn't she go home? But the woman is, they had like,
fair enough. I might have missed the gym teacher part. I really might have.
But so there's this scene where she's showered, as Chris said, she's been working out, showered, she's on her way home, and then like a light goes on in the gym and they drop a basketball and it goes boom. And you can tell they thought this was like a big, cool, eerie moment because they give a lot of traction and screen time to a basketball in the gym. And you're sort of like, okay. Basketball bounced in the gym. Lady goes in to check it out. Lady leaves. It's not like like it wasn't, I don't know, it felt like they were trying to make that a big moment and it just had nothing to it. Or like the end. Spoiler alert. They just end the movie in the middle of stuff.
Yep.
They don't have an ending. They don't have even like a trajectory. It's just stuff still going on and the movie ends. And I think they thought that was a big moment, but it's definitely not.
Well, I actually thought about so this movie was made in 2010.
Yeah.
I don't know when The Sopranos ended, but I feel like they did like a really bad Sopranos ending where like if you haven't seen the end of The Sopranos, like I don't know what to tell you, but like basically this like show that people swear by as one of the better shows ever created. They're having a family dinner. It's just the middle of the show. They're acting, and then it just stops. Black screen, no noise,
Mid-sentence.
nothing for like 5 seconds, mid-sentence. And, since then, I remember like the night that it happened, people were calling the cable company, like, you cut off, because it's coming. Like the end of the hour is almost there. Like, that's how this movie felt to me. Like, we're going to be really cool and like spicy and like we're just going to end it. And I'm like, yeah, okay. Like it just was so underwhelming. You could have made the movie from the hoodie people point of view.
Yeah.
And then it would look kind of like some of the old 80s slasher films where like it's, you hear the breathing or you hear because they're stalking the people, but then you're going back and forth, which I get. But like, I don't know. It just missed. I'm sorry, guys. I picked the wrong movie again.
No, it's okay. I mean, it's interesting you just said that because it made me think in the context of hoodie horror. Have you seen any of the other hoodie horror movies like Eden Lake or Cherry Tree Lane or anything like that?
Mm-mm.
So that whole thing is sort of F tries to do that. It is the hooded teenagers, and it's just relentlessly awful. They just keep throwing horrible things happening to people. No one makes it out alive. Nobody gets mercy. But then this film didn't even feel all that relentless. Like it's horrible and everything bad that's happening. But like you said, because you don't see a lot of it, it doesn't feel as relentless and suffocating even. So even for what it was trying to do, it kind of didn't push it far enough. weirdly. Says the woman who was upset that they burn a guy alive.
Well, no, but that was towards the beginning of the film too, and like when they're starting to come and attack the school, right? So I think it had promise at that point still, like it might have, it was a letdown after that to me. So like I think maybe that's why I didn't really feel anything about that. Like maybe that would have been a good kickoff point. I don't know. I'm just like, get out of the. You're not on the 50th story of a skyscraper. Jump out a goddamn window. Like, what are you? What? There's just so many, like, everything horrible. They just like walk into it.
And how many different times did they tell the security guard that the phone lines are dead? And everyone's like, oh, they'll probably fix it soon.
Yeah.
That's it. No one got called. They didn't call, like, they have cell phones. People use their cell phones throughout the film. No one called the power company to say, hey, are the phones supposed to be out? Like, there's so many things that are very obviously stupid.
It just was like I'm telling you, I think there's a version out there that there was a different story than what got released there. There had to be. And if there wasn't, I guess I could make a movie because they let anybody do it.
This brings up an interesting point. You very often talk about how would you remake this movie? Mm-hmm. Do you think you could do a good remake of this movie?
Yeah.
Yeah. Who would you cast?
See, now you're getting into the casting side because like I'm not young. So like, so I don't know all the young, like hip people, but like, to me, this needs to be like that along the lines of Scream. And I know what you did last summer where like, I think you need to pluck in the people that everybody kind of knows and gravitates towards. Who is the girl that did the Addams Family show on Netflix?
Oh, she was also in Scream recently, wasn't she?
Yes, she was.
She did Wednesday, didn't she?
Yeah, okay, whatever her name is, I would try to get someone like her, right? Maybe I really don't know any of these young actors, but like you would because they're kids. They should be like kids. So like really the high school level side, I always can't stand. I rewatched Scream with my son, with Holden the other day, my son. And I was sitting there thinking like, oh my God, Matthew Lillard kind of looks like he's in high school, but like none of these kids look like they're in high school. Like they're like 28 when they were filming this. Yeah. I would get some of the kid actors, but what I would do is... You mean
Jenna Ortega, by the way.
That's her name, yes. I would try to get her. She could be the main... The teacher doesn't need to be the main character because he's not important.
I mean...
That was the one actor that I recognized in this movie, and I don't think that they tried to make him the most important piece, but you almost could be you could pick any of the daughter you could do it from any of them, but I would focus more on the killer side, the hoodie side. Right. So you don't even they could be no-name actors, but you could build them up and give them a reason they're going to do this.
That's interesting. I would have weirdly gone the reverse kind of way. Is it You're Next? There's like a film where there's a home invasion and one of the guests happens to have been like a survivalist and so is able to like kill off the people who are invading the home. Do you know that?
I haven't seen that movie. I know the poster, but yeah, okay.
It's really good. I've now just ruined the twist for you.
No, it's okay.
But that happens midway, so you get a lot of good kills anyway. But like weirdly, I kind of thought they were setting Robert the teacher up to be like, so he's had this year off and he's terrified of students, so like maybe he's like learned all these cool things, so when it happens he can like be the hero and like kill off everyone. And then that didn't happen, but like that's maybe where I would have taken it. Rather than the hoodies, I would have been like the teacher that everyone's laughing at is like a useless drunk actually is going to be the one who can like kick ass and save the school. But that's kind of cliche, isn't it? That's probably overdone.
I don't know. I think I would have just went with like, here's these drugged out kids or just some crazy kids that like obvious. And I say drugged out, I don't mean it like in that way, but like they've gone overboard and they're like, we're going to go back and get these teachers. They made high school horrible for us. Now we're nobodies. We're just sitting here doing whatever. I don't know. Given that is the worst backstory ever that I came up with for 3 seconds ago. But
It's
then
all
but the slasher films don't necessarily need, as long as you know who the bad guys are, who's getting killed, you need a final girl. And maybe it's because I've seen Scream. Maybe it's because I've seen other movies, maybe like called Final Girls. Maybe I've seen Halloween because Jamie Lee Curtis is the final girl. But like, who's the final anybody in this movie?
This is the thing. The only person who doesn't get attacked is the teacher.
Right.
The final grumpy drunk.
So they built up an entire movie. They built up the first 15 minutes of a movie about this man. And when I say first 15 minutes, I mean, that's like the first 20% of the movie. It's not a long movie. So, and then he wasn't the reason they were getting attacked. He just happened to be there.
Yeah, that was weird. I thought one of them was going to be that kid who attacked him, and then
I was just waiting for a hood to come off and then be like, oh, okay, makes sense. But maybe that's what you do in the movie. You say, okay, this girl dumped this guy or accused him of, he did something, you know, and she accused him. He went to jail. He got out after a certain amount of time because it's now the next year. Now the kids are really mad. They're going to go back and get them because they don't go after the teacher. But I don't know. I mean,
this brings up a really interesting question, though, because you've mentioned a couple times you don't actually need tons and tons of really high developed plot to make a very good horror movie. But what is it then that makes a bad horror movie? Is there something that like universally would make a horror movie bad?
well, let's think about it. We just talked about 2 of them, right?
Yeah.
So it kind of
Not
sounds like
showing anything is a big one. Skinamarink shows a movie that shows you nothing is not a good movie. There's one for you. Show us something.
making the visual arts non-visual is bad. Okay, so we got that. What makes a bad horror movie? I think maybe in this movie shows it trying to pull in too much.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
How about
that's
just
true.
be what you are? Because like Friday the 13th, love them or hate them, right? Friday the 13th, everybody that's watched horrors has seen some of them, and they don't like them or they do like them, but they know what they were.
Yeah.
Even when Jason went to space, they knew what they were. You know, and so I think too much of the time they're trying to, people may say, I'm going to make this masterpiece, or instead be like, I'm going to make this great story of this slasher who's doing this.
Yeah.
Because that's just my opinion too. I mean, I don't know. I feel like I said, I feel like this was made for TV, and that means they cut stuff out.
Yeah, I think you might be right. But I think
I mean, do you think that in Skinamarink or this movie, do you think that when they're editing the movies, you're around this scene now, you've been in lots of independent horror, and you've met these people, and we talk to these guys, and I'll have to, next time we do an interview, I'll have this question now. But do you think when the Expelled or F came out, that when they were done editing and they were going to take it to whatever festival or premiere, that they said, yep, this is what we were aiming for?
I wonder. That's the thing, is because there's part of me that thinks, I feel this with Skinamarink 100%. The Expelled F, I'm not as sure. Horror movies made by people who think horror isn't a very good genre, who are trying to make like an art house horror, who are trying to elevate horror, who are trying to make like a horror movie that matters, have missed the point that horror movies already do matter, and so have missed what makes horror movies, what engages the audience, what people get behind. And I feel like that was, for me, Skinamarink. It looks like an art installation. I have a degree in contemporary art. It looks like an art installation that could be at the Biennale. That does not make it a good movie, though. I mean, it doesn't make it good art necessarily either, but it would fit in better there than it does with a horror movie audience. F obviously isn't like that, but I wonder if they were in with like okay, we're gonna do this message that like the world we live in now is actually terrifying, and that if you're a teacher, your life is at risk, and that everything's, you know, really there's a like a political message there, and they're like, we're gonna, I don't know if this is what they did, if they went in with that and we're like, we're gonna make a horror movie but that like really tells you about the grittiness of life, and then you're like, so you don't like horror movies then?
So they're doing
don't.
too much. They're trying to do too much in the movie itself.
Yeah, and I think that's what you said that was genius, made that click for me. As I was like, that's what it is. They're not getting what a horror movie is capable of what
Because I
David
just
said.
can't imagine that the guy who put his heart in every movie. Now that we're starting to talk to, you know, his directors and stuff, they are putting their heart, soul, tears, sweat, blood into these movies. I mean, it's something they're very passionate about, and the passion doesn't come through in this movie at all.
That's true. Which is why maybe you're right. Maybe it got over edited and too many like producers and execs. Because yeah, I mean, it takes a lot. I could see the skin. Again, I'm gonna just keep lashing on skin.
That's the base at this point. That is the floor.
How
Yeah.
bad. I can see people who made that being proud of themselves, thinking that they're erudite and interesting and academic and clever,
Yeah.
but at the expense of the people who are fans of horror movies. And so then of course it doesn't work, because you're saying, haha, look how much smarter, clever, better, intellectually stimulating I am than you, and you're like, that's not why I go to a horror movie. You can have those horror movies that do that, but they're good horror movies. They're not art pieces. But
that's interesting that you say that, because I actually think that, and I don't know his name off the top of my head, and I'm not going to Google and show everybody that I type with 2 fingers only, but Hereditary and Midsommar, the guy who made those movies, kind of is what I'm thinking of when you say that. You can have those movies, but also tell a good story.
That's the thing, is that I think comes from you love horror movies and you're making that kind of horror movie. Whereas I feel like with stuff like Skinamarink, it's like, oh, I'm gonna do horror because horror is so easy, and I'm gonna show them like what can really be done. And it's like, oh, so you miss the point entirely. Yeah. But yeah, you're right. Hereditary, Midsommar, beautifully made films, beautifully put together films, and you are scared, you are eerie, you aren't bored out of your mind and trying to figure out why your cornicing looks different from their cornicing on their windows as a major chunk of your contribution to the film.
Skinamarink, do not watch.
No. You know what you can do? Throw some Lego on your carpet, lay it carpet level, and look between the Lego and your ceiling for 15 minutes. Your back will hurt, your eyes will be bleeding, and it'll be the exact same experience.
That is review. Was that on their poster? That's what I want to know. Was that on the poster for that? Because that actually might get some people to be like, it can't be that bad. I almost think you're doing it a disservice now. And people are going to say, no way, I'm going to watch this movie now.
Oh dear. But this then gets us onto what we do want to watch. Are you excited about anything to watch?
So I was so excited to see both of those movies that, you know, I got to go see them, right? And as far as like things that are coming out, I want to see the Pocket Book of Superstitions. That sounds great. I do want to see that. I want to see, I just want to dig more into, I guess like what I'm thinking in my head is like Alex's movies, or dig more into just people we've spoken to and like kind of where they're at. Because I know when we spoke with Danny, I had watched a few of the movies that I was able to get, just to kind of get that background there. I'd like to go back and watch some more of Alex's movies and even Dan's things there. And I'm still looking forward to Witches of the Sands when that comes out. You know, that is a future wanting to watch. But I'm blanking on anything that I've seen recently. Like, I know Halloween's coming up. Yeah. Oh, there is a movie. I take it back. It might not even be a movie. It might be a TV show. I don't know. It's called Welcome to Derry.
Ooh.
And I put something on our Facebook page, but it's kind of like the still or the poster for it. But it's almost like a precursor to, or like like the Clown and Pennywise and all that. So I have a feeling that could be good.
Oh, okay.
So I'm
Cool.
kind of looking forward to that, but there's not a whole lot that I'm, as far as like movies that are coming out where I'm like, gotta see it. Like there's older ones that I could watch that maybe I haven't seen, like You're Next that you just mentioned
Yeah.
earlier. So like there's still always those movies that like I can go to and be good to go. What about you?
I don't have, same as you, a movie I'm looking forward to. The BBC just dropped a show called Wolf. It's like
Okay.
6 episodes, and it's apparently it's based on a book that was really good. I didn't hear about the book when it came out, but it's supposed to be a really good horror. The image that the BBC has on iPlayer, because this is all I've looked into it, is a guy in the foreground and someone behind him in one of those like hazmat suits with the big eyes and the gas mask.
Mhm.
And it looks sort of creepy and cool, and every now and then the BBC does really good stuff, like they do these Christmas ghost stories and things like that. So I'm gonna
Okay.
watch that and see what that's all about. It's like murder in a rich country home. How bad could it be, right?
No, that'd be good. That would be good. I wanted to ask you something, and you just made me think of this. Oh, I was gonna try to type it real quick. My fingers are lower, so you guys can't see it. There is a movie out right now, and it actually did not make very good money, and I did want to see it. Oh, I don't even know if it's out over there. It's called Last Voyage of the Demore or the. Now I'm gonna. This is ridiculous. How come I can't find anything I want? I just can't type. I think it's like a Dracula type movie.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And
So like vampire on a ship?
Yeah, it's the last voyage of the Demeter, and it's a horror fantasy film, and it's out right now. And hold on one second. Let me just get this dog over here for a second.
Oh, yay! I like that we have dog visitors at the London Horror Movie Club. We need to start telling our interviewers if they have dogs to like show them up. Like
Yeah,
Mash. Mash was adorable.
bring your dogs because then I won't feel as bad because this dog is probably telling me that it's about time to wrap up the podcast. I got to go outside. But no, this movie is called The Last Voyage of the Demeter, Demeter. And I don't know much about it, but it's the review here is the crew of a merchant ship Demeter set sail for Carpathia to London to deliver cargo of 50 unmarked wooden crates. And they soon discover they're not alone as Dracula's unholy presence turns the trip into a nightmarish fight for survival. And I'm like, I could watch that.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
So I
Like
might
that.
try to go see that in the theater, or as it's not getting tons and tons of great reviews, I might be watching it soon at home. But yeah, I'm gonna watch that. I'll report back to you on that.
Awesome. Sorry, the tonsillitis is kicking
Nope, it's kicking in.
in.
What did you drink during this movie? We always ask that question, and I want to go back real quick before for Expelled. Did you have anything to drink, or was it just NyQuil?
No, so that's the thing is I'm on antibiotics, so I can't have alcohol. But at the time I wasn't. And basically what I did was I just decided like, oh, low key sort of British horror beer.
Yeah.
So I think it was Peroni, so it's actually Italian beer, oops, but like I just had a little beer, a little pint.
Okay.
I ended up sort of weirdly though, like not because I didn't get into the movie, I sort of didn't end up drinking most of it until after. And I was like, I need a drink because
Yeah.
how
No,
about you?
I actually did a glass of bourbon
Nice.
and which was great because then the teacher's starting to drink as well. And so like I felt like kind of a kinship with him. But again, like you, I wasn't really interested. And so I didn't really make it. I mean, I sipped on it, but it wasn't like I was like, I'm having another bourbon. Like, this is great. I'm like really into this. So yeah, all in all, not a great hour and 20 minutes.
No. But I swear to you all, you will be really enjoy the next one.
Okay.
I think it's an hour and a half as well, actually, really. But it's an old school classic. I know we've just done something contemporary, and I'm dragging us way back again to the 50s, but we're gonna do Horrors of the Black Museum. Now, I know you don't know this, Chris. It's a first watch for you,
Nope.
is that right?
It is, yeah. I know the like London Museum, right?
Yeah, so it's not in London, it's Scotland Yard. I mean, it's in London.
Oh, okay.
But basically, for anybody who doesn't know what the Black Museum is, Scotland Yard has, I think still has, this collection of all of the stuff that's sort of, let's say, heavily associated with famous killers. So like Jack the Ripper's letters, famous murderers, like axes, all of these really unusual objects. And in this film, people throughout London keep getting killed in unusual ways with these various unusual Black Museum like tools. And so it's got some very good kills. It's 1959, so the special effects and stuff are on the older school side, but really entertaining. It's got some really amazing people. Michael Gove's in it. The director was Arthur Crabtree. He did a load of other really, really famous sort of horror movies for the time. You've got some a lot of weird levels to it. Let's say you've got like a horror writer, you've got detectives, you've got some creepy people, you've got a lot going on, and it's very old school horror, but lots of fun, lots of kills, and I think you're gonna like it. And an actual story.
Hey, you're making me look bad now. You're making movies with stories. Come on, I wasn't even doing that.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, so I'm back in time, but still I think
that'll be fun. Another first watch for me, and it sounds like it's got a good premise, right? So
yeah, and I think I think some of the kills even today are pretty creative and unusual, which is really good. So I think you'll like it.
Sounds good.
Awesome.
Well, we should probably let you go and rest your voice.
I was gonna say I'm gonna beg out because I keep coughing at all of you lovely people, so I'm gonna end the podcast there. But next month, so of course we got Horrors of the Black Museum, but we also have an interview with a special effects artist. J Lo is gonna be on with us. If you watch his Instagram, you'll know now he's been making a human head, and he's also been making a body that gets disemboweled. So he does some pretty great stuff. Very cool. He's gonna have some visuals for us. So if you are listening, consider visiting the YouTube, because he's promised he's going to have some stuff to show us, a bit of what he does and some things he's working on. So it should be a really, really fun one. And that's all coming up in September.
Very cool. Well, I hope you feel better, and I hope everyone has a good month. And feel free to, join our Twitter or Facebook and let us know if you've seen something that's good, because we're watching stuff, but sometimes I'm in a dry spell right now. That's why I was so happy with Talk to Me and Cobwebs. So if you see something, let me know.
Yeah, let us know. Seriously, we could do with it. And thanks again, Chris. It's always, even bad movies, is fun to talk about with you.
Yeah, that could be a side podcast. You could just be like, what's the worst movies? We could call it Skinnamarink.
Yes, I love it.
Awesome. All right, well, have a good one. We'll talk to everybody later.
Thank you all for listening. If you want to share your thoughts about this episode, please head to our Facebook or YouTube pages. We're grateful to Kukurbit, who made our music. Thank you for listening, and please join us next time for the London Horror Movie Club.